The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and I am scattered today. There are all kinds of things I want to talk about and things I want to do, and I'm totally distracted by the fact that somebody just wrote in and said, what do you do if you know that your kiddo would do better and be less aggressive if they didn't have only junk food for their meals? How do you bring that up to a parent or to your boss? And, you know, I have things I have to talk about, but I can't leave that alone. This is tough. This is really tough. And for those of you guys who are just tuning in, I used to be a teacher, and I remember sitting down and having my parent-teacher conferences and saying these kinds of things to parents. And then I had a parent who didn't speak English, and so we had the translator who was there. And I said, you know, I don't think that your child is getting the proper nutrition at lunch to be able to do well in my class in the afternoon. And the translator looked at me and said, you can't say that. You're not allowed to say that. That's not allowed. Like that, you can't have that conversation. And I don't subscribe to that. I do think we need to say something to people. And one of the things that you have to figure out how to do it, like, you know, there are lots of sly ways. You can put a study if there's somebody who are into those kinds of things. If you can have an open, honest conversation with somebody. I know I recently said to somebody, if I asked you to do your hardest day that you have at work and all I gave you were Cheetos and a Pepsi, could you do it? Let's try it. Why don't you walk around and see if you can do math problems on Cheetos and a Pepsi and see if you're cranky at the end of the day. And then let's do an experiment where we give you something really healthy and nutrition and wholesome and see how you do on that day too. Our kids aren't going to do well. And if you're being entrusted to help a kid do better, I think you got to say something. So anyway, I just sidetracked this, but I couldn't let it go. So welcome to Autism Live. We're here live for the next 2 hours. And I'm going to ask some of my guests about your question too, because it's hot stuff, right? But thrilled to be here with you this morning. This entire program is meant to be interactive. If you're wondering, how did this person write in this question? Well, Samantha's going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us and write in a question. This particular question came in on our website, which is autism-live.com. When you go there, there's looks like a desktop, right? And there is a desktop computer sitting there. If you click on the triangle on that computer, it will start playing the live show or the most recently recorded live show. If you want to go back in time, there's a memo tab in the upper left-hand corner. You click on that, you can watch the 100 most recent shows there. But to the side of all that is what we call the live feature. There's a series of boxes, and one of them says your question. And if you put your cursor there and start typing and hit enter, it shows up here on my screen. So that's how that viewer was talking to me. Now, there are lots of ways that you can get a question to us. You can get it to us on YouTube. You can get it to us on Facebook. We're live on both of those things, but it will identify you if you leave a question. On our live feature, it doesn't. So I have no idea who this person is or where they wrote in from, and I don't have the ability to write back to them. That's the only big bummer about it, right? But sometimes you just don't want the world to know who's asking, right? So the live feature is free. You don't have to log in. There's no username. There's no password. There's no bot check. There's no request for credit card information. notification. You don't have to remember to turn it off in 14 days. Woohoo, right? It's just free. It's just free. Now, how often do you run into something that's like that? And I don't know how long we've managed to have it be free for 6 years, but who knows? So take advantage of it while you can, but you can also write it on Facebook and YouTube. And if you put personal information in, I didn't, but watch what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take that person's question and I'm going to pop it up on, not that one. That's not the one I meant. Never mind. I blew it. I touched the wrong one. Moving on. There's a way that I can show it on the screen, but I just showed one that I need to not show, so we're not going to do that. It's that kind of a day, you guys. I saw these kids going off to school, and my son is not going to the school that apparently the district thinks he's going to, so I've already gotten a notice marking him absent for the day. So that's another reason why I'm like the top of my head's going to come off and go around the room. But it can't, because we have a great show for you today. A couple of things I want to remind you of before we get too far in is that we have lots of experts on the show, and especially today, cavalcade of experts today. I'm really proud, but I'm not one of them. As you can tell, I'm just a discombobulated mom who I've been a teacher. I've been a college professor. I taught junior high and high school, and I'm an autism mom. And I'm a proud autism mom, and I'm in the trenches with the rest of you fighting to get the services that we need for our kids. And I consider myself somebody who is always fighting for our self-advocates to be able to have their voice, even when, and especially when I may not agree with them, right? They still get to have their voice. So if you are a parent, a teacher, a practitioner, an individual who's on the spectrum, or somebody who just loves and cares somebody who's on the spectrum, you have a seat at this table. We want you to help drive the conversation. So that's why we ask you to write in and participate with us. But don't confuse me for an expert in the field of autism. I'm not even attempting to say that that's who or what I am. I'm just somebody in your corner who loves you from afar. Okay? Si se puede. We can do this together no matter how discombobulated we are. And I am discombobulated today. But that's okay, because it's time for something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out, okay, what does it actually mean? What does it mean to me? How can it help me to make progress? How can it help me and my family to do more, get more done, and be happier, right? That's what it's all about. So first we give you an actual definition. We generally make fun of the actual definition because that's fun. And then we give you a working definition, kind of try to tear it down. So let's take a look at today's term, which is adaptive skills. Okay, what does this mean? You're going to hear, if you've got a child who's on the autism spectrum, or you yourself are on the autism spectrum, you're going to hear this term come up a lot. Well, we're working on adaptive skills, and what exactly does that mean? So here's our actual definition. And it is age-appropriate behaviors necessary for people to live independently and to function safely and appropriately in daily life. Okay, as definitions go, that's not a horrible one, right? We can't even make fun of that. But I do want you to notice the age-appropriate part, right? Because if we're trying to teach a 5-year-old how to file their taxes, I mean, I know that's a ridiculous jump and leap, but you would be surprised how often people want their kids to be able to do things that aren't age appropriate, right? We don't, I mean, I'm just thinking of one example of a friend of mine who was so frustrated when her 4-year-old wasn't able to keep her room clean. Well, you know what? That's not a realistic expectation, right? Of any child. 4 years old, they're not going to be able to keep their room completely clean the way we want it. They can begin to learn skills that towards picking up, which will eventually get to being able to straighten up their room and vacuum and do all those things. But age-appropriate, realistic expectations of real-life skills. And there are real-life adaptive skills, for even for young babies. So let's take a look at our working definition, and hopefully we can't get this even clearer. Adaptive skills, real-life skills such as grooming, dressing, safety, safe food handling, school rules, ability to work, money management, cleaning, making friends, social skills, and personal responsibility. Okay, now why did I feel the need to list out all of those things? Because as we're getting ready to go back to school and as people are doing their IEPs and they're talking about adaptive skills, a lot of times the people who deal with adaptive skills prioritize them for you. And especially within a school setting, they will prioritize them for you. And they'll say, well, adaptive skills, certainly early on, they'll say, well, they have to be able to go to the bathroom. And so that means that they have to be able to zip their pants up or button their pants or whatever. They'll talk about tying shoes. They tend to lump these things under OT, so it can be things like handwriting skills, and that's how they tend to lump them. And I wanted you to see that adaptive skills is really much, much, much bigger than that. That it's everything in a life skill that you would possibly need, including the social skills that lead to dating and things of that nature. I think that we have gotten very used to, in our educational settings, at a certain point, they'll say, oh, yes, no, we do adaptive skills because it's important. They have to be able to do X, Y, and Z to be able to go to school. But then later on, they'll say, oh, well, that's adaptive skills. Those aren't educational goals. We don't deal with them. And that is a steaming pile of hooey. FAPE says a free, appropriate public education, and we have in place IDEA, which is legislation that talks about how important it is, and that's where FAPE is included, is in IDEA, and it talks about how education, that FAPE, free, appropriate public education, has to get the child ready for success after school. So, and not after school as in 3:30, I mean after they graduate and are no longer matriculating going to school. So we need to not wait until kids are 16 to start saying, wait a second, they're not job ready. We've had lots of people on this show talking about how early those skills have to start. So I just want to put the bug in everybody's ear, every teacher, every parent that's listening right now, that let's not forget about the adaptive skills and the far-reaching adaptive skills that we want to have. And by the way, I have this lovely little skills thing here on my desk, and I put it there because we talk about skills a lot. If you don't have another way of knowing what these skills are, this is a great way to have access to them. Skills has 8 different curricular areas, and in them you have everything that you could ever need to teach a child every conceivable skill, right? And it groups them in the different categories. So there is an adaptive curriculum, but one of the things that is amazing is that later on in the executive functions, it takes all the things from other categories and it perfects them. So I wouldn't just look at the adaptive, I would also look at the executive functions curriculum. Because, for instance, adaptive skill is brushing teeth, tying shoes, getting dressed in the morning. But when you need to tie it all together so that the child is completely able to, with fluency, get ready for school in the morning, which means they got to do 32 different things, you need executive functions to tie those adaptive skills together. How to plan your day, how to not get distracted. You're brushing your teeth and you can't just space out and be like, oh, and I'm back on my phone, right? Because you're not going to get to school on time. So if you're looking at adaptive skills, also make sure that you're looking at how to put adaptive skills together in a string in the executive functions curriculum, because it's the missing puzzle piece there. All right, we have got a great show for you today. In just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Yale Calhoun. I'm hoping that I'm not destroying her last name. She is from Green Tree Yoga, and you know how important it is to me that we talk about mindfulness and how to reduce stress, right? So Yale's going to be talking with us about some great free resources for you and your kiddos to help you to be mindful, to help them to be mindful, how to use yoga as a way to be mindful. Love it. Bunch of free resources. So that's coming up in a few minutes. Then we have Bonnie Yates, the special education attorney. You guys sent in a bunch of questions that are back to school in nature. We're going to be talking with her a little bit later on in this hour. And then in the next hour, the fabulous Lisa Ackerman, who is the founder of TACA, is going to be with us. They've got a conference that's coming up in just a little over, I guess it's 2 months now. And Lisa is a a big ball of fun. You've seen her on our show before. In fact, she's the one who hosts our cooking segments on the show, that the What's Left. What do you cook when your kid is allergic to everything under the sun and is on the special diet? And she's amazing. We just love Lisa, so she's going to be here, and she always brings the fun, so we can't wait for that. Hopefully we're going to have time for our In the Classroom and getting ready for back to school, and we'll be talking about mindfulness with Yale, so that'll probably be our mindfulness moment, but maybe we'll get to some more questions too. So stick with us. As we go to break, we want to debut our newest segment with Christina Adams, and this is all about the pain of comparison. So take a look. Autism and Beyond.
The pain of comparison. Yes, I know it well. It is never fun to compare your child with other children, because that's not easy when your child has a difference, such as being on the autism spectrum. And if you have a child with autism, we have the joy of comparing our child not only to neurotypical children, but also to other children with autism. You have to remember that your child is your child. We love them because they're our children, and their job is to be a child. And our job is just to parent and love them and help them as much as we can. When we hear about some child doing something that our child isn't doing yet or may not do in the long run, it's pretty difficult. And I can tell you, milestones are a hard one. The graduations, the birthday parties, you have to remember you can get through this. One of the best ways to do it, fun. You have to have a group of safe people that you can go to, hang out, that love your child, do something fun together. One of the best solutions is to kind of think about where we are then. Maybe it's time to kind of look at a different situation or a different intervention. So you might look at a different school, you might look at something you've never tried before to be a therapy or a biomedical intervention for your child. Also, disability has always been seen as a form of wisdom in some of the world's great faiths and religions and philosophies. They have a lot to teach us. Our children are beautiful people. They affect people different ways, and they show us really what human nature is all about. So when you feel that pain of comparison, just know that your child is a special person. And I'm sitting here to tell you, there are children out there, girls and boys, young adults, older adults, who do things that people never thought they would do. They're going to surprise you. You will have those moments. So be assured that your time is coming to be that one that everyone's happy for.
For the month of August, I figured we'd do some fun in the sun activity. We're gonna make our very own frozen bowling game. It's super fast and super easy. I was inspired by some lessons I saw in Skills. All right, so let's get to it. The materials you'll be needing are water, water bottles, balloon, and food coloring, which is always optional. First step you're gonna do is make your bowling ball, since it'll have to freeze overnight. The first thing I'm gonna do is take my balloon and put a few drops of food coloring in it. This is optional. If you don't have food coloring or your child has an allergy to it, don't use it, but I thought it'd be fun to make everything super colorful. So, I have my food coloring. I'm gonna put a few drops in here. And then, take this to the sink and fill it up with water and tie it a knot. Here's my balloon filled with water and the food coloring. I'm gonna take this and place it in the freezer with some towels, just so it holds its shape better. Our next step is to make the bowling pins. I have 10 recycled water bottles that I've refilled with water. Now I'm gonna put some food coloring in them.
Straight to the center at full speed. Light will surround you in a blink of an eye.
Now that my bowling ball is frozen and my pins have been filled with water, let's go outside and play with these.
See all the colors in the sky tonight. It's time to let the sunshine hide.
I hope you and your family have fun with the frozen bowling game like I did with my friend Emily. Well, until next time, craft on, guys. Bye.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Being part of this community is really important to a mom with a son like Jackson, because it really does take a village, and you need so much support, you know, to help bring out all of the amazing qualities and skills and talents that our children have. So I'm just very grateful to everybody who was a part of this.
I think it helps with all sorts of that self-esteem, social skills. They seem to communicate a little bit with each other, and they had a lot of friends. The helpers were phenomenal, and I think the social skills for sure, because they worked together and they did a couple group things across the floor, and they sang songs together, and I yeah, for sure, I think it's a really huge deal. A great program.
What programs like this show is the person is in front of what we call today a disorder. I think what we're finding is that these sorts of brain challenges that make people unique can actually be gifts in ways we haven't discovered in the rest of society to bring them out. So when you see a program like this and you see the kids dancing, having fun, and making up jokes, making up the story. I was here when they did that. That was so amazing to watch, because they were all focused, they were all present, and they were all laughing, they were all getting into the creation of this story. And that to me sort of broke the barrier to say, no, first we're dealing with people, and then we're dealing with the challenges.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are joined right now via Skype by Yael Calhoun. Hopefully I've said her name correctly. And she is coming to us from Green Tree Yoga. Yael, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love being able to share our resources.
I love it too, and we've asked you to come and talk with us a little bit about, I shared with you that we've been talking about mindfulness on the show and how important that is. You're with Green Tree Yoga. I'm going to let you take it away and talk to us about what you do.
Okay, great. So are we looking at the first slide?
We will be right now.
Okay, wonderful. So I would like to share with you some ideas on using simple stretching and mindful breathing, which is also called yoga, for people who are on the spectrum, and also for their caregivers, for teachers, parents, and healthcare professionals, because self-care is so important. And as you can see from the next slide, as Shannon mentioned, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we provide yoga for people, benefits of yoga for people outside of the yoga studio, so underserved populations. And then, as you can see from the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about why yoga, this simple stretching, is so effective in helping people who are on the spectrum. So just very quickly, this is a laundry list of reasons, and we'll talk a little bit about more with each one. Stress management and self-regulation, so affect regulation, body awareness, flexibility, coordination and balance, social interaction, self-confidence, physical strength. And these simple stretches and mindful breathing exercises also incorporate deep pressure, repetition, relaxation, and visual cues. So that becomes very important in why yoga is helpful. And then, as you can see from the next slide, yoga, these things allow people to become present, to be present. And what I'd like to do is just to take a moment and do a short yoga break. And these are available for free on our website. So these resources that I'm sharing with you are available for you for free. So if you like, just as a person who is a caregiver or a parent or a teacher of someone on the spectrum, come forward on your chair and you can watch me and do this with me if you like. So palms down on your legs, breathe in, push down on your hands and let the shoulders lift. And as you breathe out, just feel that easy release of the shoulders. And then let your hands come down to your sides. So we're going to do 3 shoulder rolls back. So if you like, on a breath in, shoulders lift. And as you breathe out, roll the shoulders back and down. As you breathe in, shoulders lift. And as you breathe out, shoulders back and down. Inhale, shoulders lift. Exhale, and just notice where you feel the stretch as you roll your shoulders back and down. Inhale, shoulders lift. We'll do 3 forward. Exhale, roll the shoulders back and down. Inhale, shoulders lift. And exhale, forward and down. Sorry, not back. And inhale, long, slow breath out. Forward and down. And come back to sitting tall. All right, and then just notice how you feel. Notice how you feel. Then, as you can see from the next slide, what we're doing with this simple stretching and breathing is actually rewiring the brain. And we know people on the spectrum have different neuronal challenges. So this is a way to help people rewire the brain so that they can find more joy in life. All right, and then we'll skip the next slide. The water drop, we just did the break. And then the next slide. Yoga helps, these stretches help to build body awareness. And these pictures are from our Art and Yoga for Autism Summer Camp. Yoga helps to build body awareness. So as you're breathing, as you're moving your hands, as you're pressing down on your feet, you're building body awareness. And as you can see from the next slide, it also helps people to build awareness through grounding, through feeling the tactile stimulation of feeling the body on the floor or the mat or the wall or the chair, just building that sense. And as you see in the next slide, it's very important for building self-regulation, for helping people to build those skills. And these comments are from autism moms that have had kids that have done our camp. And you can see these kids are all practicing a breath, which we will practice in our free yoga game in a few minutes. And then, as you can see from the next slide, this is about helping people build these lifelong skills for affect regulation. So being able to switch from the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight, to the parasympathetic, which is the calm, the rest, relax. And these breathing breaks can help both children and adults learn how to self-regulate. And as you can see from the next slide, these simple stretches and breathing help people learn to tolerate bodily sensations that could be some kind of a trigger. So if when they start to feel upset, they can do a breathing break, do a simple stretch, and just work through that feeling of upset so they aren't triggered. And the next slide shows that these simple yoga can help to build connection. Right? It helps people to build connection and social skills. The next slide, sense of control. So if you look at this is from our art and yoga class one summer. You can see people are doing different things. People get to choose how they do a yoga stretch, and it changes from week to week. And the next slide shows boundaries, hands and feet on the floor, just getting a sense of where a person begins and where a person ends. We know with kids on the spectrum, sometimes that can be challenging. And the next slide, it helps to build strength and balance because these poses are physical. And kids love to see their personal growth from one time to another. And along with that, the next slide shows building motor skills, learning where the body is in space, developing the strength to move in certain ways. And the next slide shows it, these stretches and poses also help to build flexibility and focus. So as you're balancing, you're practicing both of those things. Now I was asked about, in the next slide, I was asked about finding a yoga practice in the community. Some of the considerations before you take your child to a yoga class, either in the community or at a yoga studio, know that these kids' yoga classes typically are very noisy. There's a lot of visualization. You can go to a class that everyone's dressed in Star Wars costumes, playing loud music. The language can be is not simple. So it's not a literal language. So what I would suggest is that perhaps if you're looking for a yoga class, maybe you go and observe the kids' class near you, and just even for 5 minutes, you'll get a sense if there's too much stimulation, if it's too noisy, if there are too many children in the room. So these are things to look for. And if there isn't a special needs yoga class at a studio near you, you may want to talk to the yoga studio about perhaps developing one. All right, and so to our free resources, the next slide. These are free resources on our website. These are for you. They're yoga breaks, and you can watch them or you can listen to them. And there are there's one that's 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, and 4 minute. And then there's one 10-minute guided meditation, which is body-based, which can be helpful. And taking care of yourself is not being selfish, it's being practical, right? If you get sick, if your cortisol and epinephrine levels stay too high all of the time, you are not fully available to be present to help the people who need you to help them. So taking a 5-minute yoga break every day, maybe do it for a week and see if it makes a difference in your day. Make that commitment to your self-care. All right, and then the next slide shows, this is a game that we developed. I worked with a social worker who spent 30 years in New York working with kids on the spectrum, and also with a pediatrician who specializes in working with kids with special needs. And we developed this game. It's a home game, and you can learn all about it on our website. There's a 3-minute video to watch on how to do it with your kids, and there's also, if you want to know why, more on why, there's a little longer video. So there's the how, and then there's the how and the why. So it is helping kids to learn affect regulation, but also there's some social engagement because you're providing them with the opportunity to do a yoga break when they're feeling stressed, when they notice that you're feeling stressed, or they invite you to do one, or they teach it to a friend. And having worked with an autism program in my city, the feedback that I got is that teachers would actually see kids on the spectrum on the playground saying to a friend, "Oh, don't get mad, do this yoga break," and she would teach it to her friend. So let's go to the next slide. So remember that this is, as you teach this to your child, this is also a yoga break for you. So you're also decreasing your stress levels. So let's just do 2 of the breathing breaks, and then we'll wrap this up. 2 of the breathing breaks that you can teach to your children, and these are favorites. These are tried and true. One little 4th grader told me that she went home, she felt like putting her fist through the wall, but she did fist breathing instead. Another a child told me that she went home and she taught it to her brother. And then I didn't know that she just shared. She said, yeah, my brother's 12. He's in a wheelchair and he has autism. And I said, how did he like the break? And she said, he loved it. So let's just do the 2 breathing breaks very quickly. They are fist breathing and balloon breath, which are the 2 favorites. And these are part of the game. So if you like, sit with your palms up. This is 5 breaths. You take a deep breath in and make tight fists, tight, tight, tight. And as you breathe out, let the fists release. Long, strong exhales. Breath in, tight fists. Breath out. Just feel the fists release. When you breathe in, tight fists. Breathe out, release. Breath in, tight fists. Breathe out, release. Breath in, tight fists. And breath out, release. And the second 5-part breath is, if you like, put the palms together. Just the fingertips stay touching. So hands are together in front of your heart. Breathe in, palms apart, but the fingertips stay pressed. Slow breath out, palms press. 4 more. Breathe in, palms apart. Slow exhale, palms press. Breath in, palms apart. Slow breath out, palms press. Breath in, palms apart. Breathe out, palms press. Breath in, palms apart. Breathe out, palms press. Maybe just take a moment and notice how you feel. And then let your hands come down. So that is part of the free game for helping kids learn how to self-regulate. And so just very quickly to wrap up on the next slide, these 2 things are not free, but you would get a 15% autism-live discount and any other discount that you think you might need. We just really want to make these materials available to folks. One is the DVD CD kit, which is for kids with special needs, and a coloring book, which we have used and people really enjoy. And the next slide is our art and yoga curriculum kit, again for kids with special needs and autism. And that incorporates the yoga poses with art projects, and it has a training, kind of a trainer on how to teach this, because it's very different than teaching typical kids yoga. All right, and then as I said, available for a discount, and if you need more of a discount, just email me and let me know. And then the last slide is our contact information if you have any questions on how you might be able to introduce this to your kids' school, because we have yoga break programs that we do in special needs classrooms or at a local yoga studio or community center. So that is basically, in a nutshell, a small nutshell, what we have to offer, both, again, for self-care and for people on the spectrum.
Wonderful, wonderful information. We thank you so much. And tell the folks at home where your yoga studio is.
We are in Salt Lake City in Utah. And we actually, our studio is in Sandy, but most of our programs, we go to places and do programs. We're invited. So we'll go to schools or community centers or other places. So that's how we get our information out to people.
And do you ever fly to other locations if somebody wants you to come and speak?
Absolutely. We do webinars. In fact, I'm doing one at Ohio State tomorrow, a webinar. But I also fly out and do programs. Absolutely.
What a wonderful, wonderful addition to our community this information is. And I know that there are going to be many people who are going to be thrilled to have these free resources. We thank you so much for the work that you do and for taking the time to tell us about it here at Autism Live.
Well, it was my pleasure, and I hope to hear from people. Just put Autism Live in the subject area, and I would, as I said, if you need a discount or more of a discount or whatever information, I'll be happy to do a phone consultation, whatever would be helpful to you folks. So,
thank you so much. And,
all right.
and
Thank you.
we look forward to talking to you in the future. Take care.
Okay. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wonderful, great information. And I did the exercises, and sometimes you feel like, oh, when you start these things, a lot of times my head, that like not helpful voice will go, oh, what is this really going to help? But the truth is, I started this show feeling very discombobulated. I feel a lot less discombobulated, and my sense of humor is back. I was so discombobulated at the start of the show that I forgot to do the question of the day, which is never, we've done 6 years of shows and I don't think I've ever done that before. What our question of the day is and what our topic of the day, and you're going to find this humorous after what we just did to see what it is. So Samantha, can you show them this is what our question of the day is. What is the thing that keeps you motivated? So we want to hear from you guys. You can write it on Facebook. You can write it on our YouTube to let us know what is that keeps you motivated. I know that one of the things, as I was going around speaking over the summer, this last couple of months, I said to parents how important it is to have a clear idea of what it is that you're working towards. And for me, I'm visual. So I always had the visual of my son standing in front of me in a cap and gown saying to me, "Thank you, Mom, for everything that you did." And knowing from my heart that I could say to him in all honesty and say, "Honey, I did everything that I could." And having the peace of mind and having my stomach being comfortable saying and knowing that it was true, that I did everything that I could. And I hold that picture in my heart and in my head every day. And I'll tell you what, on days when I just don't think I can do it, man, that picture gets me up and out of bed and in the shower and moving, right? That's what keeps me motivated. And I've had that picture in my head since he was diagnosed. So, when he was 2.5, I was picturing him in a cap and gown saying, "Mom, thank you so much for everything that you did." When he was nonverbal, I had that picture in my head. I tell you, I'm closer and closer to that picture. He's starting high school this week, and they impress upon me that it's a blip, and then they're in the cap and gown. So, in any case, what keeps you motivated? But then take a look at what our topic for today is: finding your center. And I was so out of whack that we didn't even talk about what the topic is. But clearly you just saw with Yael that it's important that we find our center. And I love the fact that she said that if you're having cortisol in your body, it's stressful on your body, you're going to get sick, and you're not in a place where you can be available to help anybody else. And as a caregiver, that's not the deal. So, and what she said was 5 minutes a day. Just try it and see if you feel better. We didn't even do 5 minutes and I feel better. Worthwhile. And we can all find 5 minutes to breathe, even if it's in the shower. Or in the car. You know what I always say, get the kiddos in the car, especially with little ones, you get them in the car seat in the 5-point harness, and then everybody takes a breath break before you start moving the vehicle. Great time to be centered, right? Okay, so now that I'm centered, I've taken a moment to breathe, we can be back on track now. We're going to take a break, and in just a few minutes, we're back with Bonnie Yates, special education attorney, and we've got some questions that you guys sent in. It's back to school. Stick with us.
Hey everybody, this is Joe Marisi. We're here live in Fullerton, California at the historic Fox Theater. And we're here tonight for the 4th annual comedy show for autism put on by the Fullerton Cares Foundation. and we're just hanging out outside the theater here, and we're going to go talk to some folks right now and see what brought them out tonight. Please.
My name is Larry Hauser. I'm the founder of the Fullerton Cares Autism Foundation, and the one putting on the whole event. Me and my crew.
Larry, doing this for 4 years, what is it that you like best about this event?
What I like best about this event is there's a lot of people in this area that don't normally go to like walks or any like stuffy fundraiser events. This is something that those people don't come to, but they want to support. So that's why I really love this particular event is because of that.
A lot of fun. Now, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with here?
I am the Fullerton School District Board President, and I'm taking a lot of the money from tonight. This is a wonderful event, and we can't wait to have the comedy and raise the money for a worthy cause.
All the events, try to help raise money for the events, and seems like I said, Larry seems to do all the work and get the crew going, and he just directs us around, and we try to pick up the cash for him.
Awesome, Brian. And Brian, what is it in your 4 years coming to the event? What is it that you like the most about it?
The comedians. I mean, last year we had a full lineup. This year I think the lineup's going to be even better, and I mean, you can't beat it.
The event is the way that our community comes together, that everybody supports Fullerton Cares and supports the families that are part of Fullerton and that show up and create a really great environment for our kids to grow up in.
I'm actually out here to support my good friend Larry Hauser. Happy to be back and happy to support my buddy.
What I like the best is the amount of people that actually come out and support us and support the cause, because they know it's a good cause, it's a local cause, local charity, and so it's just nice to see the community come together for something that's for the community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm so excited because right now joining us via Skype is special education attorney Bonnie Yates. And Bonnie, welcome back. We love having you on the show. You're looking.
You manage to always be in a positive and excited frame of mind, which I think is what we should be striving to do as we make this little journey around the sun every year, right?
Well, we have to spend more time together because I am not always positive, and you need to be around me. But see, I'm positive and energetic when I know that you're going to be on the show, because I know you're going to give us good information and that you're like an earth mother, Bonnie. You're very centered, and today we're talking about finding your center. You're always centered, and I always know we're in good hands with you.
Well, thank you very, very much. And we had 3 questions today, but we need to do the disclaimer first.
Well, and I also want to talk about Hirji and Chow, that you're a special education attorney with Hirji and Chow. And would you like to tell us a little bit about them and how we can find them?
I sure would. Hirji and Chow is, sorry, I'm getting a text message. This is so bad timing. Sorry.
It's okay. Do you need to take it?
Now you have my total attention.
Okay.
But you'd be in favor of the mission. I'm having a late last minute scheduled lunch with the vice principal of a very large high school that I sit on IEP meetings with, and she embodies to me what I would like to see in public school administrators. She's very open, and she doesn't do dishonest stuff.
So, and don't we love that? And it's important to acknowledge that those people are out there. We just want to clone them and have them be everywhere.
We want to like hug them.
Exactly, and thank them for their service. And I hope that I love that you're going to lunch with her. Tell her thank you on behalf of all of us.
Okay, I will do that. I will do that. Yeah, she's a super cool lady. Anyway, I'd give her a shout out if I could, but
Right, I understand.
I'm giving her a shout out, but
It's
confidentially.
sensitive. It's sensitive. But let's talk about Here G and Chow. How do we find them?
Yeah, so we're in Culver City. You can find us on the web, and our phone number is 310 391-0330. If people want to get a hold of me for a consultation, which we do for everyone free of charge, you can email me, Bonnie, at RKH Law Office, and law office is singular.com. Let's get the disclaimer out of the way. This is a California-based law firm. I'm licensed under California law, but I'm also able to practice in the 50 states if there is a federal question, and much of IDEA is federal, so there's more consistency from state to state on things like, for example, child find, which we're going to talk about today. But if you have a specific question and a specific problem, my suggestion is, what is it they say? Run, don't walk. Sorry, that's my phone. Run, don't walk, and get some specific legal advice, because time flies, and early intervention is where it's at.
Yeah.
So we have questions today, which is exciting. People have been able to peel themselves away from their camping or their Disneylanding or whatever they're doing to think about special ed. We appreciate that because we like the questions. So I'm going to read the first question, then I'm going to answer the first question. We've got 3 questions, and then if we have time, we're going to talk about child find, which is the first component of the whole idea, process in terms of special ed. So here's the question. We had an IEP.
I just got to tell you, Bonnie, that your mic is super close to the papers, so just be aware of that.
Thank you. Better?
Yeah, just be careful. Thank you.
Yes. We had an IEP in place and then left our school district. We went to Texas for 18 months. In Texas, we had a new IEP. Now we've come back to the original district, and the district is saying they want to implement their old IEP from 18 months ago. Don't they have an obligation to implement the Texas IEP? Our child is not the same as he was 18 months ago. This makes no sense to us. So this is an area that is rife with misunderstanding. And the rules are different depending on if you move during the year or during the summer, and the rules are different if you move within your state, at least in California, or if you move out of state. And the way that I understand this to work is that when somebody comes back to the state with an out-of-state IEP, the district can choose to implement that if they want to, but they don't have to. They can go back to, they can essentially start the process over again and say that they want to assess, which is probably what they want to do. And while they are assessing, because it's an out-of-state IEP, believe it or not, I think they can implement that whole IEP that they had before they left. The crazy thing is, as the writer points out, the child is not the same as he or she was 18 months ago. It's an out-of-date IEP, but what they should be doing is, developing a new IEP, which they should, be doing in 30 or 60 days. So it's crazy. I don't know if the reason they don't like the Texas IEP is because it's service heavy. The rules would be different if they came from, let's say, Bakersfield, and they went to Los Angeles and then they went back to Bakersfield. There, the rule would be that the district, while they're, if they're assessing and planning to, develop a new offer of FAPE, they have to implement the existing IEP as, they have to approximate the existing IEP as closely as possible given the resources they have. So, for example, if I was going to ZXY school in Bakersfield, the LA team would look at a non-public school, but they wouldn't be able to offer the ZXY school. But how they could most closely approximate was if the ZXY school was a, special day class type of school with an emphasis on, language development, specific learning disability, whatever it would be, they have to find something that is as analogous as possible. But that's not the situation with our folks here. And, maybe we should be excited about the fact that, Texas at least once, has given somebody an IEP that they actually want to implement. Apologies to Texas, but it's a very tough place to do special ed.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was what I found.
Okay, so there are differences when it's state to state or when it's in state, and there are differences if you move during the school year and during the summer. But for this parent, I guess what I'm hearing is that they should stop the argument about whether to do the Texas IEP and just as quickly as possible get the school to create a new up-to-date IEP, to be pushing them to have that happen within 30 to 60 days.
With their input, yeah.
With their input, of course. Yes,
So,
absolutely.
So, whereas if you move during the school year, the district's supposed to implement your existing IEP. They're supposed to have a 30-day and implement your existing IEP at least until such time as they make you another offer of FAPE. And then if you disagree with that, you can invoke stay put and in theory perpetuate the existing IEP. If you move in the summer and you let them know that you're going to be there in the fall, they have to have an IEP in place for you by the first day of school. And this is where I've never seen a school district do it right. I had one crazy case where they actually went back and started, the kid was had been in a private school, so they took the IEP from 2.5 years ago and started trying to implement that, and boy, was that funny, because it was so not indicated. And if the question is, well, how can you possibly have an IEP in place by the first day of school if you don't even hold IEPs in the summer? They need to do whatever they need to do, and if they can't get an IEP team together, it's not illegal to hold them in the summer. They're just not mandated to. Then what they have to do is they have to go back to the existing IEP, the existing assessments, and have something in place so that on the first day of school, the student doesn't miss out on special education. So that's an area, if you've got a situation like that going on, you definitely need specific legal advice, because it's crazy.
Okay.
Crazy.
Well, and schools tend to make these arbitrary rules that then they foist upon the parents and go, oh, well, we don't have IEP meetings in the summer. And that kind of gets into our next question, because it's a parent stressing about school starting. Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read it?
I can read it.
Okay.
Okay, so school starts in 2 weeks. I still don't know who my son's teacher is. We've asked repeatedly if we could know so we could prepare our son and the teacher. When does the school have to tell us? Is there nothing that forces the school to give us info before the day of? This is not good for our kids. So Shannon, you were talking last week about the efforts you've made over the years to get a parent-teacher conference to go over the IEP before school started, and how you'd never been able to do it before the first week of school. My instinct is, based on everything I know, I didn't research this, but I think it's right. They don't have to tell you. You don't have an obligation. You don't have the ability to compel this. And if they don't tell you till the first day of school, I think that's okay. I think that is unfortunate. The student definitely needs priming. But unless it's written into his or her IEP that this has to happen, the parents can't make it happen. And I've never seen a situation where the IEP said, Mrs. Sherman will be the first grade teacher. The closest thing I've ever gotten to something like that was I had I think it was like a La Cañada IEP, where they wrote into the IEP, Mrs. Whatever, Mrs. Smith is going to be Ben's classroom aide for the 2010-2011 school year. And when the district wanted to discontinue that aide because the aide's name was specifically written in the IEP, that caused a problem. That'll never happen again, but it was kind of novel. But so there isn't, I don't know what these parents can do. Maybe they can show up at school and see who's around and start asking some questions informally. Probably they just, unfortunately, they don't want to keep their kid out of school. I think they're just going to have to prime their kid for how to roll with whoever the teacher is, and tell them that it's exciting, and we're sure it's going to be a good person. I mean, anything you can think of to ease some of the apprehension. But this kind of actually flows into our next question a little bit, because these are all questions about asking questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question. Am I allowed to ask what the training experience is of the people on my son's team at school? School is telling me I don't have the right to know. I want to know if the psych is a BCBA, if the teacher has an autism credential, if the one-to-one aide has any ABA training. I don't think this is unreasonable, and the more the school insists they don't have to tell me, the more I suspect they're giving me an inexperienced crew. Well, inexperienced crew seems to be the word of the day in California, with the demand being so high for skilled behaviorists and skilled, one-to-one aides and so on. There's an aspect of this which I think is just defensive, like, we don't have to tell you, so we're not going to tell you. And really, parents do have a right to know, and parents do have a right to participate in the IEP meeting and ask questions and know, if somebody's rendering an opinion, are they competent to render it? So what the standard school district attorney trick is in this situation, because the staff will always get uptight immediately when asked these questions. The typical school district attorney response that I've had is, I'll send you that stuff after the meeting. And then, you sort of get what you get and you've lost your opportunity. The best time to get the information is in the meeting, because it's a denial of parental participation if the parent can't have that information. I've had people say it's a union issue, and I'm not going to do it, and my union says you can't do it. But I don't believe union rules trump IDEA. So yes, parent, you are entitled to ask for this information. The reason is because these people are going to be making educational decisions for your son or daughter. In order for you to participate and intelligently respond to the information, you want to know that the person that's making the recommendation isn't, a highly skilled baker from Brooklyn or something, So I'd say go for it, be forceful. They won't like it. They're going to try to tell you no. If they persist in telling you no, what would I do? I'd have to think about what my remedy would be. I think maybe that would be part of the due process issues.
Well, let me ask you this, Bonnie. So if whenever I get an IEP meeting request, I email them back and say, yes, I will attend on this date, or no, I cannot attend on this date. Can we look at some other dates? And I will say to them in that email, and I will be bringing a tape recorder. Please let this serve as my written, information to you. Could I? And a lot of times, if it's an IEP where they're going to be doing testing, I say, and I am requesting that I get all testing 48 hours before the IEP so that I'll have time to review it before the meeting. Could I, at that point, when I'm responding to the IEP request, also say, as per my parental participation rights, I would like to receive 48 hours before the IEP in writing from you what the credentials are for all of the members of the team. And that way, if you get to the meeting and they say, oh, I'll email them to you later, you can reasonably say, no, that is a violation of my parental participation. I asked for it in writing and the tape recorders are worrying. Or is that too defensive?
I don't know whether they're going to give it to you if you do it that way. If they did, it would be fine. But what I found is that when they have an opportunity to script it, you get less information, or the information is shaped. I want to ask somebody, what was your initial training? And they say, I had 30 hours of initial training. I want to say, by whom? Was it by some computer that was just, spitting out some stuff and you sat there and, filed your nails? Or was it really real training, didactic training, on practicum in the field training? I feel like you're better off going in with, the ability to ask questions and follow-up questions, because you'll get more information. Okay. But they hate it. They hate it.
Yeah, why? Why do they hate it so bad? Because the presumption, I'm with this parent, the presumption is, if you ask me a question about what my training is, I should be happy to tell you. And the only time I wouldn't be happy to tell you is if I feel like I don't have any.
Well, no. If I'm inadequately trained and I'm frustrated about this and I'm not getting the backup that I need and deserve, I'm going to feel self-protective.
Yeah.
I'm not confident.
Yeah, but that goes back to it's the undertrained. The fear of this parent says, the more the school insists they don't have to tell me, the more I suspect they're giving me an inexperienced crew.
Yeah, I think that's a founded suspicion.
Yeah, me too. Which is frustrating because these are our kids, and we, this is the last 2 days, Bonnie, we've been talking about this because it's back to school, and there was the case yesterday in all the papers about a mom in Atlanta that her son was supposed to go to summer school and then after that go to an after school program, and they messed up and put him on the bus. The bus dropped him off. And let him out at his home. Mom wasn't home. He sat on the porch for 3 hours, a 9-year-old with autism. And it wasn't the first time they'd done it. It was the second time, and the principal is still saying, well, it was a mistake. And we were talking yesterday, Nancy and I, about how schools always tell us, you have to trust us. Why are you so worried? Like it's all going to be okay, and they poo-poo our fears. It just makes me nuts, Bonnie.
Well, I don't know that everybody will agree with me, but I think, California is the 48th of the 50 states in terms of what they're spending on education, which is a little surprising given our reputation as kind of a progressive place. But, education isn't only fixed by having adequate, money for expenditures for necessary things. It takes dedicated and talented people also. But, since a lot of the time on this program, I tend to sound off and be a little glib and maybe a little sarcastic about what goes on in public school. Part of what goes on in public school is just that we have what we always say we have, which is an unfunded or an underfunded mandate for special ed.
Yeah.
So, people just have to try to push on through the best they can and take care of their kids. You take care of your kid, and then if you have some time for system reform, please have at it,
And recognize people like the person you're going to have lunch with who actually, in amongst all the rubble, are trying to do the right thing for our kids. Because we need to hold on to those people and reinforce them. So you wanted some time to talk about Child Find.
Yeah, tell me how many minutes I have to talk about
Samantha, how much time do we have? She says you've got 7 solid minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay, I can really have at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so last week I think we talked a little bit about the due process that I was drafting. I'm happy to say that it's mostly done. Those things are always monkeys on my back because I'm always comparing myself to Jenny Chow, who is such an amazing drafter and writer and issue spotter. But anyway, this one was the one I told you about where the district recessed the IEP meeting, and they never gave us a written IEP document. They never gave us a specific written offer of placement. But this case initially was about Child Find because my dear boy was not made eligible until January 13th, 2017, and he started kindergarten in this school in the 2011-2012 school year. So, due to failure to engage in proper Child Find, he was not made eligible in a timely fashion, and that really backfired for him because he has a specific learning disability, but he's very bright. He was aware as early as being a kindergartner that he wasn't keeping up with the other kids, and he had a family history of anxiety and depression, and boy, did this ramp that up, over the years, getting, to the point where he couldn't leave the house. So, what did it take to make this boy eligible? The district knew about the family history. He was the youngest child. He was deeply influenced by his parents' divorce. He had problems beginning in kindergarten, and they did an SST meeting, and the teacher, I think this is probably in first grade, wrote down, what she saw as the presenting problems, and then she wrote in quotation marks, something else there we can't put our finger on. When I saw that, I was like, oh, because that's when the teacher should have referred, right?
Well, what is Child Find? For those of us who don't know, what exactly there? I didn't know there is a process for the teachers to be able to submit them.
Yes. Let's do the Child Find thing. Because I'm sort of madly in love with this kid, I always talk about him. But anyway, He's getting what he needs.
But your papers are covering your microphone right now.
They are?
Yeah.
So strange. They're not anywhere near the computer. Okay, try again.
Okay.
So there is a duty for the states and for the districts to engage in child find, which basically means search out and serve, children with disabilities in their area, catchment area. So they have to identify, locate, and evaluate all children with disabilities, regardless of the severity, and even if they're making advancement from grade to grade. So that's a pretty, broad brush stroke in terms of who potentially is going to be included. And the feds have left it up to the states to develop their own protocol for how to do the child find. They don't tell them how to do it. They just have to track kids from birth to 21, and they have to get it right. So in terms of children who might be missed, Child Find includes all children, including children in private schools, highly mobile children, migrant children, homeless children, and wards of the state. And you can imagine that it's tricky to track a kid whose parents, let's say, move around in the agricultural part of the year, in the spring or the summer. But they are responsible for tracking those children. So anyone who's suspected of having a disability is supposed to be found. And people don't really realize this, but it's not just the parent that is able to refer. A tutor for the school, or a teacher's aide, or a teacher, any essentially responsible adult at school or outside of school, like the child's doctor, child's therapist, can refer the child to special education. So that's one thing. Another is the public schools also have a duty to consult with the private schools and advise parents and teachers. Another is the public schools.
Sorry.
We okay?
Yep,
okay.
we're fine.
Okay, and advise the private school on how to make available the opportunity for assessment and other special education services. Now, if you are attending a private school in, let's take my son William. William was attending a private school in West Los Angeles, and he lived in Culver City. So if I wanted the person that has the entity that has the duty to engage in the child find would be LAUSD, not Culver City, because the school is in LAUSD. So that's one little wrinkle. And then, any child, the basic bottom line is any child who is struggling should be referred. Any child who is struggling should be referred. There are general, public notice obligations, and the plans that the private school or the state puts out can include door-to-door surveys, mailings, education programs, public meetings, doctor referral, contact with daycare providers, and surveys of public school personnel. And that child find duty also exists under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. And if you want to read a little case about what happens when the district refuses to evaluate under 504, you can read WB versus Matula, M-A-T-U-L-A. If you Google that, you'll get the case. There's also a duty to evaluate within a reasonable time. You can't put it off, put it off, put it off. And the last thing I wanted to say about child find before we run out of time is there's an interesting case, Jamie S. versus Milwaukee Public Schools. This case has been going on since 2001. I might have to do some more research. As of 2010, it was still going. And what happened was some parents in Milwaukee brought a class action lawsuit because there were tons of emotionally disturbed kids who were being suspended but not referred for evaluation. And the school officials' claim was that they didn't want to stigmatize the kids by labeling them, but the court found that that the district had failed to engage in proper child find, and then the state failed to enforce its child find obligations when people asked for the state to get involved, and so the school was sanctioned. So that, in sort of a small nutshell, is at least the beginnings of a discussion about child find. But the truth of the matter is, usually where the rubber hits the road isn't that they don't know that the child needs an assessment. In my practice, it's they find the child, they assess them, and they make them ineligible until the parents get a lawyer and get a private evaluation. And that's what happened with this kid.
Which is unconscionable. And I don't know how those people sleep, but I appreciate the information about Child Find. We had a parent who wrote in a quick question, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer it now, but they asked, is it legal in California to have your child wear a tracking device with the capability of listening in?
Ooh, that is such a hot topic. Let's talk about that next week.
Okay, let's definitely do that.
That's super hot. Thank you for that question.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bonnie, as always, we want to thank you, and we want to thank Hirji and Chow for allowing you to be available during this time. Would you please give us a quick plug for Hirji and Chow, how we can get a hold of them?
Yes, Hirji and Chow is reachable at 310-391-0330. If all else fails, you can call me 310-245-1968. And thank you for the questions.
Yes, and now we've already got one for tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next week, and we'll look forward to having more questions for you next week as everybody gets in this back to school swing of things. Thank you for
weather.
Yes, beautiful weather, harvest abundance. I love this time of year, and back to school, all to the good.
Good, Shannon. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Truly wonderful conversation. And we want to thank Bonnie and Hirji and Chow. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's time for Lisa Ackerman from TACA to join us to talk about some of the things that they have going on, including the amazing conference that they have coming up in just 2 months, so stick with us.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain.
If help seemed out of reach.
Have you been given no hope?
TACA means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism. And today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. TACA unites these families and shows that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, you know, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope.
One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. You know, when you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. You know, this can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing, oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with TACA the most is hope. To me, that's what TACA means. TACA means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's going to do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're going to do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you know, you go through this 3-week of depression, and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we going to do. And then we found TACA, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that, you know, you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction, and there was hope, and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's going to be okay, and we're going to be okay. I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without TACA.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found TACA. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon, and we couldn't be more pleased, and without Taka, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. Taka is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At Taka.
At Taka.
At Taka,
We are families with autism helping.
Helping.
Helping families.
helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to Talk About Curing Autism today.
Welcome back to Autism Live. You just saw an inspirational video about Taka, an amazing organization, and we're just so lucky because we have its founder with us. Lisa Ackerman is joining us right now via Skype. You were asking me if I could see your t-shirt. I can see it now. Autism is tough, but so are we. I love it. I love it, and I love you, and I make no bones about that. You're an amazing woman. I would love to have even a 14th of your energy.
I love you too, but it's all caffeine. It's all synthetic, so let's not get too excited.
Okay, well, all right, because I don't do any caffeine, so that explains it all, but not really. I don't believe that for a second. So you are the amazing founder of Taka, but you are a light in this community. I always think of you, Lisa, in a group. Because there are always a group of parents that are following you, and for a very good reason, because you've made it possible for so many parents to get to the answers and the resources that they need. For people who don't know about Taka, do you want to give a quick shout out and let them know what Taka is and how they should connect?
Yeah, Taka's started about 17 years ago in my living room, really just to drive families to effective treatments across the autism journey. And now we serve over 50,000 families across the United States with some amazing volunteers and chapter leaders that deliver our mission to one family at a time, just providing hope, support, and really connecting them to people who are going to do good work for their kids. So, you know, we're going to talk about a few things today, like the website takanow.org. You can find us takanow.org. But I think what I'm just the most excited to come back on and talk to you about is just what we're up to and our conference coming up, so we can get people inspired and activated.
Absolutely. You've got an amazing conference that's coming up. Tell us what the dates are.
Well, you know what's so crazy is we do a conference within a conference. First, we train all of our national leaders across the United States, and then our national conference, where we welcome everyone, starts October 20th. Goes the 21st and 22nd. And it's in Costa Mesa, California, lovely California. You got to come out and visit at the Orange County Hilton.
It's an amazing conference, and you've got amazing people lined up. Do you want to start to talk about the incredible lineup that you've got going on?
Yeah, and I mean, we're just so lucky and excited. We like to vary the topics and the keynotes every year, and we're just super grateful. Aaron Brockovich will be joining us from Aaron Brockovich fame.
Yeah, the Aaron Brockovich, that Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah, so she's it's wonderful because she's a kindred spirit. She's fighting for children, the health and well-being of children, and she'll be doing our keynote on Saturday. We also have, and she's amazing. I mean, I just can't wait to have her inspire and just show people that, being just a mom doesn't mean you can't take the bull by the horns and get it done. She got it done. And it's just an honor to have her be part of our schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting.
Yeah. So, and she's just a bright light. So bright light, let's bring it on and let's inspire others to activate. So,
I always think about, there are people that they say, well, so-and-so really lights a fire. And I think Erin Brockovich, she's all about lighting a fire, and if it turns into scorched earth, so be it. Right?
Well, the truth's the truth. You know, and we never censor families and what their truths are. And we support them where they are, and she just seems like very much a kindred spirit. So
absolutely. That's a huge get. Congratulations. That's amazing.
So we're excited, and just, I think if people will be inspired by her journey, and we hope that, you can get the inspiration so you can make a difference within your family and community. And then, there's so much to share of it. I really am excited about, from Caltech, we have Dr. Sarkis Mesminian, and he is the gut microbiome guy, literally just one of the top researchers. He's found pathogens and things that we need to be aware of, not just for autism, but for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And he's keynoting on Sunday, and I'm a geek. I'm a total nerd. I didn't go to school to be a nerd. In fact, I repelled from nerdism. But he's my bag. That guy is so incredible, and someday he'll win some amazing awards for his work in research and treatment options for families. So.
He rocks your biome, Lisa. Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Yeah. If we can talk poop, I'm just so excited. He talks poop, and it's just. But he just thinks out of the box, and he is driving for real solutions and conditions where other people are just like, yeah, there's nothing you can do. You hear that for so many issues, like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and especially autism. He is just turning science on its head and saying, nope, we're gonna drive positive change, and we're gonna take this challenge on. And it's just a pleasure to know he's on our team, and I really am excited. He is incredible.
So Erin on Saturday, and you're having him on Sunday, but in between you've got quite a lot going on.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's the order. I could talk for hours on all of these people, and of course, Dr. Robert Navio from UC San Diego is going to be there, and the sermon study that he is pretty recent and hot off the press. He's going to come and talk about not only the rat model studies that he's done and showing that rats can recover from autism. I always am intrigued that they can make rats autistic. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
But then yet he was able to turn around the rats in their autism symptoms using Suramin, and he is going to come and talk about his first clinical trial that just happened for children on the autism spectrum, and it's phenomenal. I mean, a lot of people are linking it to Robert De Niro and Robin Williams' movie Awakenings, and it's just really some of the most exciting research and treatment option that's just going to make such a difference. And I'm not a geek from a way of describing it from a science standpoint, but a lot of the kids have this fight versus flight mechanism that's not regulated. So it's always either totally on or they're sleeping, right?
Yeah.
And this medicine and treatment protocol that he's working very hard to prove, it helps regulate that fight versus flight response.
Amazing.
And I'm just like, he is a giant big stick of gluten-free, casein-free butter. I love the man. He is just the most kind, giving, generous human, and so dedicated. He's been at this, I want to say, over 20 years or somewhere around the 20-year mark, and my sincere apologies for him not nailing it exact to the day. He also will be sometime an award winner for autism in his work.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
who else do you want to give a shout out to that's going to be there at the conference?
Oh my gosh.
I know
Well,
it's endless.
I look at the speakers and I'm always marveling at who comes and who does their gifts. So we have a hope, a believe, and an education track. And the educational track, there's so many different things that we'll be highlighting, and I think is so important. You know, from Elizabeth McCoy, who does the conservatorships and talks about things that you need to do to prepare for adulthood and to protect your child, to Tim Adams talking about the legal aspects and special education law, and then we have folks like, gosh, it's so hard to pick. Dr. Suzanne Go, who's just one of the leading neurologists in the United States. Dr. Richard Fry, also one of the leading neurologists in the United States, and they're going to be covering things like mitochondrial and seizure issues. Then we have Dr. Dan Rosignol, who will hit some of the newer research and treatments, and his team, Nicole Rincon, Dr. Fleidner, Lanier Rosignol, that kind of take home like what you should do with labs, how you should look at labs, how you prepare for your first appointment. One of the talks is what treatments are available for children that don't speak, you know, that are pre-verbal. So there's just, it's a variety of things. But the most important thing to me, and the thing that I love about this conference more than anything, sometimes families come to the conference alone, but they don't leave alone. They've got an army of people behind them, and we do things to make them feel comfortable and come in. So we have a mentor area, and you remember our mentor area?
Oh my gosh. There are just some things that you do, Lisa, that you do so well that nobody has even thought of doing. But you build community. I don't want to take away from the fact that there's so much information that happens at the conference, but you build community. For if there's anybody who's out there who feels like they're on the planet alone by themselves because their child has autism, they need to come to this conference.
And the most beautiful thing, I mean, it's a 3-day conference. You can sign up as an individual or a couple, but we do offer scholarships. We've had 2 really generous donors come forward and offer scholarships. And if you're in the state of California, we've got vendorization from many regional centers. So you can check to either see if your regional center is vendorized. If they're not and you can't get there, we can scholarship you. Last year we had people from 35 states. So we have accommodations that, you know, are lower costs, and we can help families figure out how to make it work and get here. We actually had an army, like 14 people from Japan, Canada, Brazil, United Kingdom. I'm just blown away. I'm like, you came from where?
It's amazing.
And my shout out to my friends in Alaska. That's like a country, you know, it's way out there.
It is like a country. But I sort of stopped you when you were talking about your mentors. For people who don't know about TACA, tell them about who your mentors are and why that's such a pivotal thing that you do.
Well, you know, I think the mentor program was created out of necessity. It's like Match.com without the dating. We match you based on geography and need. So if you have, let's say, a 7-year-old with seizures in the state of Connecticut, we can match you based on those criteria, based with a family that already lives in Connecticut, maybe has a little bit older child or a child around your child's age, also experiencing autism and seizures. And then you just have a buddy that helps. It's almost like a moving buddy from Toy Story. We help you move down the path, connect you to resources and information. So it's a heartwarming program because, like I said, you're never alone. You will have your moving buddy, and that moving buddy is there. So what I always recommend for like new families, you go to the conference for the first time, check in, get your badge, get your bag, get your workbook, which is now digital, go to the mentor table, talk to someone there, tell them about your kid, and they will highlight the sessions that you need to attend.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's unique about TACA is they'll guide you based on your issues right here, right now, what you need to be doing today, not trying to guess what conference, attendance thing you should go to. They're going to tell you, you can't miss these talks. This is who you should go listen.
Yeah, it's like finding the insider best friend on the first minute who says, "Oh, here's the down low on what you," but that's fitted to you. And I gotta say too, when you go to the mentor area, it's where the party is always happening. I've never seen
drinking at the conference unless it's coffee or tea.
No. But they're positive, and they're excited to be there, and they're friendly people, and they're upbeat.
Being silly. I don't want people to misconstrue with it. We don't frown on wine after 5, but the point being is, we get it all together. It's like a positive love train.
It
you get in there. You generally will find they almost connect you immediately with someone in your geography. We have our coordinators who rock the world. They are leaders across the United States that will also be at our conference. So, it's so much fun to be able to talk to someone and go, "Oh my gosh, you're from Texas? Hold on a second. I got a Texas girl right here for you." And connect them and make that match. And it's just really the most positive experience to watch people connect. It's just such a wonderful level, and feel like, now I've got my friend and I'm going to be moving forward and my kid forward.
And we talk a lot about managing resources, about knowing, because a lot of times people get into that Debbie Downer thing about there's no resources for autism, which, let's be honest, there's never going to be enough, and there isn't enough now, but it's not that there's no resources. So managing your resources is a huge part of this journey, and knowing who to go to for what. And one of the things that I love about TACA and that I love about the mentorship program is we all need people to talk to and to bounce ideas off and to say, is this working? Is this how this is supposed to be? What am I supposed to be feeling the way that I'm feeling? And a lot of us make the mistake of thinking that we can talk to our friends about this who have kids who are not on the spectrum, and that doesn't work. A lot of us think that we can go and talk to our pediatrician about this, and that doesn't work. Or to go to even our Med Maps doctor, who we're paying a whole lot of money to be in the room with them during that time. And that's not even if we had that conversation with our mentor, we could go and be much more productive with the resources that we're using. So I think that, anybody, like I said, if you're feeling like you're alone or you don't know where your tribe is, find your tribe at TACA and find it at the conference. So again, October 20th and 21st.
And 22nd.
And 22nd.
3 days.
I was starting to write down.
It's okay.
The 3 days. And so where do people go to sign up?
Well, you go to our website, tacanow.org, and that's TACANOW.org. And in the menu bar, it's conference. Click on that, and you'll see all the details, the location, the accommodations, the schedule, and also how to register.
Okay. And there is a cost for it, but you have scholarships that are available. Is there a link on there to find where the information about the scholarships?
Everything is up there. And like I said, if you're in the state of California, you can reach out to us and see if your regional center is vendorized, or browbeat the ones that aren't. Get them vendorized, but we can work with them to pay for your attendance to the conference. And let's say you're not in the state of California, or you are and you're not vendorized and you need a scholarship, we also have that available.
And sorry, I'm taking phone calls while we're interviewing.
Oh, no worries. You can take phone calls.
No.
Like large gluten-free, dairy-free pizza with all the meat possible, please.
Can we talk about that? What I'd like to do is take a break and then come back and talk a little bit more about the conference and about you and TACA and about a gluten-free pizza also. Can we talk about all that?
Let's do it.
All right, let's take a short break and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
Are those your eyes? Is that your smile? I've been looking at you forever, yet I never saw you before. Are these your hands?
As a celebrity, whatever that means, you want to do what you can to give back. The way I've always looked at it, if I'm available, I'm going to be there. And when you get there and you see what folks are doing and the lives that they're touching, how can you not want to continue to be a part of it?
And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes.
What what can we all do to make a difference? Not only with trying to find a cure, but to help the children and the families that may not have the resources for these kids.
When you're looking back at me, now I understand what...
None of us are doing enough, but I think that we're doing as much as we possibly can. Because we all live in society. And the more we can all do to help society, the more it helps all of us. Yeah.
And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes. And for the first time, I'm seeing who you are. I can't believe how much I see when you're looking back at me. Now I understand what love is. Love is. For the first time.
Autism Live. That was Lisa Ackerman showing you her tough on her t-shirt there. Lisa, for those of you who are just joining us, is the founder of TACA, an amazing organization that's a parent group that she, as she said, started in her living room that does amazing things. They've got a conference that's coming up October 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Their national conference. We want to encourage people to get their bodies to that. That is happening in Orange County, correct?
Yeah, but like we were saying at the break, we have people from all over the world come on in, and it's just a great time, really a great time. Lots of really motivated people, so it's awesome.
It really is, and I think every event that I've ever attended has its own flavor. But I gotta say that one of the things, 10 of the things that I really love about your events are that you are going to leave with your batteries refreshed, with hope anew, with you know how sometimes you go to something and you get good information, but you don't know what to do with it? Your people leave with a directive about what's meaningful to them, about what they're going to do next, which I really love. It's so easy to get overwhelmed when you get information and you come back and go, I don't really know what to do with it. And people don't leave your conferences with that. They leave with contacts that are friends that they keep often for the rest of their lives, and they have had putting together what they're going to do next, what their list is. You're really good at putting together the list.
Yeah, we have a whole moving forward strategy that's trained from top to bottom, that we work with people to identify the most important things for their kid right now, and how to get that moving forward. And it's just super important. And you brought it. I wanted to bring up a point about resources. So we have a toll-free line. We take calls. We have coordinators across the United States and mentors and volunteers, 700 of them now. And it's interesting when a parent comes forward and says, hey, I'm looking for this resource. It could be a speech pathologist. And after talking to them for for a few minutes, we may say, hey, you don't need a speech pathologist. You first need to get a neuropsychologist to assess your kid. And that may decide if your kid needs speech pathology or speech with regards to what's going on in their lives. So it's interesting when our families and our volunteers are connecting, they're identifying and shaving off any time that would be wasted.
Yeah.
So if you don't need a resource, or you're not quite sure what resource you do need, it's hard to sift through that early on. And even when your child goes through major, milestones like puberty, graduation, transitions, it's good to reconnect with TACA, especially, if you don't know what resources you need, or you haven't been in a conference in 5 years. The whole world has changed in 5 years. So
absolutely. And your kid changes in 5 years, as you were saying.
Oh.
And
my kid's still growing and changing.
Well, of course. And is it okay to say what your son is doing right now?
Yeah, he's good old Jeff. He and his dad are moving into his dorm room for his sophomore year.
For college, sophomore year of
child
college.
day at the Ackerman house.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
It's called Get Rid of Child Day at the Ackerman House.
But with a grin. I mean,
Yeah.
to get to the point as an autism parent where you're excited about your son going back for his sophomore year of college and moving him back into the dorm, and that's an exciting thing for you. Man, isn't that where we all want to get to?
Yeah, and I mean, and I think about, back in the day when he was first diagnosed, and you and I, Shannon, have talked about this a lot. He had a mental retardation diagnosis given to him 6 times. He was nonverbal or pre-verbal, I like better, from 15 months to almost 6 years. And to see him today, be excited about going back and doing his thing. And he ended last year with a 3.1 GPA. I couldn't do his homework. I look at his homework and I just literally want to die if I had to do his homework. I couldn't.
Well, I hear you. I hear you. I had that conversation with my son the other day that I said, I'm so thrilled that you are finally at the point where the math that you're doing is so advanced that it's not even a question of coming to me with it. Because there were 2 years where I was sitting and Googling how to do the math, and now I can't. I can't even Google it.
Yeah.
So I've resigned from the math homework duty, and I'm thrilled about it.
I've resigned from several subjects. I'm usually just humor. Oh, that homework's terrible. I don't know what you're gonna do.
And you are also who he goes to for music history. You give him all the best. You download for him all the great music, because what people don't know about you is that you are you love music.
Yeah, Jeff and I, he's my concert buddy. My husband, has other gifts. He hates going to concerts. Jeff and I are like, if we could go every 2 weeks to a concert, we would. And we have a great time.
And you have very good taste in music. And actually, you've got a concert that's coming up.
Yeah, we're incredibly blessed. In LA, the LA metro market, there's a station, Jack FM, and they adopted us almost 12 years ago. And they held a conference was what we were talking about earlier, concert, the fun stuff. And I'm absolutely blown away with how much support. They've helped us serve thousands of families. And those thousands of families find us often through Jack FM because they do radio spots, which is amazing to talk about curing autism on the radio 10 times a day.
Yes.
And so they have their 12th conference for TACA. And
concert.
Concert. And it's a major concert.
Yes.
And it's The Offspring, 311, Cypress Hill, Gin Blossoms, Lit, and Eve 6. And I know all of those bands, and I'm a total dork. Don't ask me to dance, but I will. And I look a little bit like Elaine on Seinfeld. But it's at the new 5 Point Amphitheater, which is brand new to Orange County, where the 5 and 405 meet at the Great Park on October 7th. And we get $1 from every ticket sold. We also have VIP pit passes and backstage passes that we sell, and we receive 100% of those proceeds. So, I mean, every year that the average these conferences or concerts, God, help me. The average these concerts help TACA is about $30,000 a year, and it just really helps make a big difference. But what we can't pay for is the friendship, the airtime, and just the stewardship that they've given us. And in corporate America, you don't often see people who give back like Jack FM, and they give back and they're amazing. And I'm cool for about 30 seconds. It's awesome.
Well, it is cool. And Jack FM is a great station. If you're traveling in Southern California, it's a great station to listen to. I happen to love them. And I love when I'm listening to them and I hear them talking about TACA. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Gin Blossoms fan, so I got to put October 7th on my calendar. But okay, but before we run out of time, because we're quickly running out of time, you have stuff that happens all year long, and right now it's back to school, and you've got some really amazing things happening for families to help with this transition back to school. Talk to us about that.
It's so important, because even if you've been back to school a dozen times, sometimes it's just nice to know what people are doing at that next step. So across the United States, our coordinators have put together this just amazing effort to do back to school coffee talks. So literally almost in, I think we're now 27 states, 26. It's all a blur. If I'm off by one, shoot me. Don't shoot me, but I'm just saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we have back to school efforts where you can get together, meet people in your community, get their handout, get some free samples, and really work to making this the best school year for your kids. So literally across the United States, coordinators will be hosting up and helping families get geared up for back to school.
And this is how specific sometimes here locally, not close to me, but close enough that I could get to it. One of the things that you're doing very soon, I think it's happening next week, is that you're having a group get together and you've got legal help that's going to help to put together the binder that has your IEP. And because we're inundated with paperwork, and a lot of times we don't know what to keep and what not to keep. And you can bring your binder, or you have ways that they can purchase low cost a binder and somebody there to help them to put the tabs in on the IEP. I mean, it's just so good.
Well, it's even the best part of that I love. So there's 10 adults that work in the talk office every week. And for the last 2 weeks, they've been putting together binders for the meetings coming up. So adults with different abilities on the autism spectrum come in and help us. So it's a full circle thing where they get to, put things together so we can better serve the families. And I'm just super excited. And, for families that I brought a guide in with me just because I forgot to do it last time. If they go to their first meeting anywhere in the United States, they get a free autism journey guide. And so this guide is just such a great book. It's free to families. You got to show up to get one. And it really has a lot of the back to school information, but also all the other stuff that's important to you, including blueprints, medical information, diet, learning, your rights, the whole 9 yards. So
And does it still come in two different versions? One for when you've got younger kids?
This is the new version where we combined everything, and it's an accompaniment to the website. So
fabulous.
The article starts here but ends on the website. So that way we can come across and put everything in here that's really going to guide folks along their lifespan. So we try to make it easier. So now it's all in one place.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And your website is I'm going to say this, hands down, the best website on autism and autism topics in the webosphere. You have more information, and you could go on your website and fall in and stay for months and not get to the bottom of all the information that you have there. So, but your blog is amazing. And whether it's talking about diet or, how do you budget? How do you make this work? You guys have information on everything.
Yeah, I mean, crazy stuff like, how do you get your kid to take a supplement to, my kid doesn't eat vegetables, how do I disguise them so they'll go down his gullet, to, the special needs rights, legally, not just for, right when you start, but along the lifespan of your journey. So it's every aspect of the autism journey, but really just giving you the resources so you can drive things forward based on what you need today.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh,
so takanow.org, go there. Everything that we've talked about, you're going to be able to find links to there. If you can get to the conference, if you need help with scholarships, make sure that you check out that page. Look to see if there's a coffee talk near you. Look to see if there is a TACA group near you. And if there isn't, they can write in and ask how they can get that started. Isn't that right?
Yeah. The first thing that I would encourage anyone before you write in to say, how do I get started? If you've been on the autism journey for 2 or more years, you can sign up to be a mentor yourself. And that's the first step in the training process is, saying that you want to help other families get that process going. And then, of course, I just welcome you to come to the conference. Taking that knowledge one step further is just going to make all the difference for your family, but everyone else that you want to support and help.
You are such a treasure to this community, Lisa, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of us for the work that you do. And I know that you have an amazing team, but it's
an army.
But it speaks to your vision with what you started and how you continue to roll. And thank you for creating a place where so many families find a home and find real answers and real hope. It's honestly, it's an amazing thing that you've done.
I have a hard time taking compliments. I just want to thank everyone who has reached behind them to pull up the next parent. And really, that's what's inspiring to me, is watching families help other families. That's how the world becomes a better place.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
And I hope that I get to see you soon. Until then, give my love to everybody. And but we'll talk soon.
Yeah, love back to you guys, and really thank you for having me and having this resource. Shannon.
Anytime. We love having you on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
TakaNow.org. Make sure you check it out. We don't have a whole lot of time left. Excuse me. And I really wanted to get to, and now I'm going to have coughs. I really want to get to our autism in the classroom moment, but now I have a tickle. Let's take a short break and then we'll be back to do that. Stick with us. Welcome back. Hopefully the coughs are done. I want to talk a little bit about our autism in the classroom moment for today, is talking about visual schedules. Visual schedules are so important for our kids, and we can be using them at home and we can be using them at school. And one of the ways you can support a visual schedule at school is to do it at home. So whether you're a parent or a teacher watching today, let's talk a little bit about visual schedules and how important they are and the many different ways that you can do them. And while I'm talking about it, I pulled up a couple of images just that are available on the internet. You can go on Pinterest and put in visual schedule and you will find a plethora of things to choose from. Some of them are just ideas for you to bounce off, or you can purchase some of them. And there are apps now that are visual schedules. So I'm going to ask Samantha to start showing some of those and realize that your visual schedule can be whatever. Take a look at this one. This is for a kiddo who is, excuse me, nonverbal. We've got pictures that show things very clearly to show them what their day is going to be like. And we've used text because we want them to start to get used to text, and we've used time. And we use the time that's digital as opposed to the clock face, because they probably don't know how to tell time yet. But they'll start to get a sense of time when we say to them every day, so this is what you're going to do at 7 o'clock, and this is what you're going to do then, and then, and then. So let's go ahead and look at another one, because sometimes we're focusing on the whole day. Other times we're just focusing on, first we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. And this will help our kids to understand the language of first and then and waiting and what's going to happen next. Any time that we don't know what's about to happen, we risk raising anxiety. So visual schedules are a way to help an individual to understand time, transition, flexibility, to understand the language around those things, and to lessen the anxiety. I don't ever want to be in a car going someplace and not knowing where I'm going, right? So let's take a look at another one, Samantha. I think we have a total of like 5 of them to show. So I love this one. because this is one for a classroom where the kids are a little bit older, where there may be, these are kids who can read. We still have the visual to help support the words, and where you've got the first and then that move as they go through the different tasks of the day, and something that's fairly easy to do. Lots of different ways that this can happen, and notice that the format can be different, and we want to use all different formats across a child's lifetime. Go ahead and show us the next one. But you start to get a sense, okay, here's one that you can purchase. This is for older kids that either know how to tell time on a clock or we're learning how to do that. Notice you get your choice of either or with the clock, and you can fill it in, and it's a whiteboard. So a great example. If your kid is in a classroom where there is not a visual schedule, talk to your child's teacher about, or give them something like this and say, this is something that's really helpful. I think you really would be hard pressed to find a teacher who's teaching younger than third grade or younger who doesn't have a visual schedule. For older kids, you can make and give them to them themselves so that they have a way to keep track if the teacher doesn't want to have it on the board. For our kids that are in junior high and high school, they have it. It's just a printout of what their schedule is. And I like to put it so that it's somewhere right inside or on the outside of my son's main notebook so that he has a chance to look at it. It helps him to know where he's going to next. Okay, we're out of time, but I just want to take a quick second to say that Netflix is debuting a new show tomorrow. It's called Atypical. I'm going to a screening for it tonight. I don't know if we'll have the opportunity to do any live interviews, but you know, if you're on Facebook tonight, you might see us pop it up with something from the cast of Atypical. I doubt that, but I will be back next week with information about it, and I hope that you'll check it out. It debuts tomorrow. Atypical. The main character is a high school student on the autism spectrum who's hoping to start dating. How much do we love this, that this is our reality now, that Netflix has got a show where this is the cornerstone of the show. Love it. I can't wait to see it tonight. We will be back tomorrow not tomorrow, we'll be back next week. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.